Welcome to the Unmistakably Magic Podcast. I'm RJ.
And I'm Cort.
We are two lifelong fans of Disney parks and all theme parks.
Each week, we bring you the latest news from Disney parks and beyond.
Plus, this week we'll be talking about Shanghai Disneyland and Hong Kong Disneyland with our special guest, Nathan.
Oh, wow. Round 2, everybody.
We're back.
Yeah, he's back. We don't know what episode this is.
We don't know because we're saving it for when I'm in Disney World.
Yes.
So
We don't do math.
If you're listening to this, it's because I'm in Walt Disney World eating a Mickey bar.
Oh,
Probably, honestly.
Every day.
All day, every day.
With my 2 snack credits every day.
So we're not bringing you any news this
snack
week.
Credits. 2.
But we are going to be talking about 2 Disney parks
Yes, we are.
over in China.
Double dose of Disney Park.
Stick around. It's coming right at you.
I get so used to the news music.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
like, what? Oh,
waiting
yeah.
for
Where's it at?
I know.
Not today.
Weird.
Weird.
Well,
Yeah, I almost forgot to not put it next.
I know. I guess you could have. It wouldn't really.
Just jumped in with that and
Yeah.
started talking about that would have been weird too.
Well, Nathan, I
Yes.
heard you had the opportunity to go to China and go to 2 Disney parks.
I sure did.
I want to hear all about it.
Whole Disney park.
2 whole ones. Well,
Including one that's like brand
brand
new.
new.
Brand
brand spanking new, yeah.
Yes.
brand. Have they even had a year yet?
Yeah, they did.
Did they do anything for it?
That was when they started doing the summer stuff of like
Yeah.
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
I know my news. I write it every week. Show
girl.
Get
Yeah.
at me.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Which one do you want to start out talking with?
Which one did you go do first?
Yeah.
yeah, I was going to say, we probably just, because I went to Hong Kong first. And I went with my friend Marley, who got a shout out at the last one, if you heard, for bringing other things.
It
But,
wasn't the last episode.
well,
It was
the
the last
The
one
last
that you were
one you
on.
recorded.
last one I did. Okay.
It's all good. Everybody knows this now. It's established.
Okay, good. We already discussed that we don't even know what episode this is. Anyway, I went with her and my mother. Well, actually, my mother already was over there because she teaches and whatnot. So actually, me and my friend Marley were going over to visit her and obviously go to Disney parks.
You sure it was to visit your mom and not to go to Shanghai?
I mean, it was both because the fact. I mean, I go and visit my mom when she's actually teaches over in China all the time. So I go and visit her almost every year. I think I skipped a year. I think it was the year before that actually. Anyway, so we are doing this time because we had more incentive. That is true to go and say hi. And so we started out with Hong Kong. Because that's where she's teaching, and so we went to go see her. And then it was literally the next day. We got there really late at night, and then fell asleep, and then we just were going.
That's awesome.
I was intense for sure.
Especially with jet lag and everything.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
It was.
It's hard enough doing that at Disney World with 2 hours of jet lag
Yeah.
versus like a
It was
day's
hard.
worth.
It was difficult even over in Paris.
That was
Can't
pretty bad
imagine
too, though.
over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we just kept. I think it was because we kept going so fast that it didn't really affect us.
Catch up to you.
Especially since it was Disney, so I was super excited.
That's true. Yeah.
So we got there. We actually had a cool lunch reservation too at their hotel over there. That was basically this dim sum that obviously Hong Kong's known for, and they had all these different Disney shaped things. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you like the little green
Of course
men.
they would.
Yeah, they had little green men dim sum, and they had like Olaf there, and it was kind of sad you were eating Olaf and the little green men, but still.
Tasted good.
Yeah, exactly. Those like little Mickey pancake, obviously things that they had with the dim sum. Anyway, that was great. But what we did before, so what we did was we obviously woke up as early as we could to get there when it first opened.
Yeah.
And so I had already been to China, obviously. So it was more of like a shocking experience, I think, for Marley to go for the first time and see all these first things, and then out when we were getting there, and then when we got there, it was kind of normal because it was Disney again. So
Familiar.
I was gonna say more westernized stuff. So we parked and everything, and then as a Disney cast member, I was able to use my pass to get us in to the Disney park. So basically what we did was we would go to the guest relations, and we got our tickets and everything, and then we went into like a special little line to get in from the side because we already did a lot of the waiting. So we first got in, and it was just it was weird at first because it was very similar.
Like familiar, but different.
But like really different. And it was strange because like it felt like they transported Disney in the middle of this because so Hong Kong has its own, basically Disney has its own island with Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Like Disney has its own section. So like to get there, we actually got onto the train, and you have to just take different lines, then you get on the Disney line itself.
Also, it's its own train too.
Yes.
Wow.
So it has its own train. It also now has its own ferry system in both. So it has like its own dock, and it has its own.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy.
Jeez.
So we got on the Disney train, and that's how we got there. And so it's weird because, like, since it's its own island, you look out down at Main Street, and you see the castle, and then like right behind it, and these like mountains of like luscious green stuff, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is not where Disney usually is. Why is Disney not in like its own thing? You know,
Yeah.
like it just
Yeah.
seemed like a very interesting concept to me because I haven't been to any other Disney parks.
Oh, I was gonna ask because
Yeah,
I feel that way a little bit sometimes going to Walt Disney World,
yeah,
or then going to Disneyland soon after, or vice versa. And it's like,
this feels off.
I know where I am, but like, is that still over there? Or like occasionally I'm like, oh yeah, Big Thunder's not there; it's over there, or vice versa, or whatever.
So it was just weird. I think just the kind of the shock at first to be like, I was so excited and everything, and everything looked very similar just to Main Street in Hong Kong. So it was great. We kind of started off by doing shopping first because we just got, I think, too excited to do anything, and there was not very many people there at all. So we didn't feel like we needed to rush at all for anything. And like the waits for stuff were like nothing the entire day anyway. But so we first did all of our shopping, and we bought a lot of stuff, and that's when I kind of got carried away.
We bought a lot of stuff.
I like went off on a whole I saw one thing, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get this, gotta get that, and it was great. They had a lot of awesome just different merch
that's interesting because
Yeah,
Cort,
Disneyland Paris
coming
had
from
no
Paris,
merch.
said he was like there was nothing unique to Disneyland Paris.
There was more
Yeah.
Ratatouille stuff, but that was about it.
yeah.
And you can find all of that stuff over in Epcot.
in the French,
Yeah.
French, yeah.
Granted, from Disneyland in Anaheim, yeah, that Ratatouille stuff, you'd be hard pressed to find.
But
Yeah.
But
still.
everything else, pretty much the same.
Wow,
Yeah, and that's
that's really cool though.
yeah, it was really awesome to see all their different like things that definitely were, some things were fitting more to the culture, other things were just regular Disney stuff that just were made in an interesting way that they had stuff. And I think that's just for a lot of the Asian parks, like Japan obviously, they go all out, all their stuff. I cannot wait to go there
Yeah.
because that's where I'm going to spend a lot of money.
I've heard that.
That's going to be a lot of my
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
So after we went on our shopping spree, basically, we got all our stuff, and it was cool because we were staying at the. We just were able to put it on hold basically until we were gonna come back and grab it later, so we didn't have to hold anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
They
so-
did it at Disney World too. Did they not?
They do it at Disneyland as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you can do it all. You can pick it up on your way out.
At like guest services and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it was great. So we had bags upon bags, but we just were like, take it away, taking while we go and do everything. So basically, the first thing we did was I think it was because you took pictures in front of the castle. We saw it and we're like, why not? And
It's the same. It's essentially a clone of the castle over
It's
in
actually
Disneyland.
the same height and everything. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
looked it up one day. Somebody was
It's
asking
smaller though. It's very small. It is a very small.
me. Is it
thing.
smaller than
It
Disneyland's
is
though?
because it's
Oh.
not.
Is it? I thought it was the exact same. It was just that their Main Street
No
USA is
way.
full sized, so it looks smaller,
I can
and it's got the
guarantee
mountains
it was a
behind
smaller
it.
castle because like when I was next to it, it doesn't have the same width to it. It's very like it's a
Oh, but
It's
the,
the same
height,
height,
but the
it is
height
the
of it
same,
is the
yeah.
same
Oh
size.
well,
yeah.
it still is dwarfed in comparison even to the
Well, and like you said,
Disneyland
Like when
one.
I saw pictures, it is weird to see that mountain that's
Yeah.
like behind
Yeah,
it.
in
It's
the
like what?
and so it
Yeah.
just was. You could tell that it was like not the biggest thing, and they didn't really put that much. But there actually was doing little bits of construction around it, so who knows what they might be adding to
Yeah.
it
Well,
or whatnot.
isn't
But
it changing into like the Frozen Castle?
Is it really?
There's some Frozen thing going on with the castle,
I have no idea,
And I think it's actually turning into the castle from Frozen. Because they announced that. Well, they announced that a while ago that they're revamping the castle. They're adding a Moana show, I believe, over in Adventureland, and then they're taking out Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters.
Weird.
Yeah.
All right.
And then that's turning into a Marvel like shooting game.
Well, because I mean, that makes more sense.
Was there still a partners though in the hub?
The what?
Was there a partners statue in the hub?
That was the weird part about Disney.
Paris
didn't. No, that was over in the other one.
It did, because I remember seeing Walt. I think I took a picture actually of it. But the more interesting thing was that during that time they had it was around Easter time, so it was still spring, and so they had this spring Easter egg thing going on still.
Okay.
The egg extravaganza. And so they was just like statues everywhere and there was like the eggs obviously everywhere of just different characters that you could take pictures with. So that was a little weird, because you would walk up into like the first area, like the hub basically, and there would be like Tigger over on the side, then this little thing, and there would be like eggs over here. And you're like, what is happening over here?
Yeah.
So we took pictures in front of the castle, and then we took a right over into Tomorrowland, and we started there. And I think, I'm trying to remember what we did first. Oh, that's right. We went into Tomorrowland, and we went on their Space Mountain over there thing. And
Which that had the Star Wars overlay, didn't it? It was Hyperspace Mountain?
Yes. It did. And so Hyperspace Mountain, it was so funny because there was like a 10-minute wait for it. Even though we like stopped, we shopped, and then we went and took pictures from the castle. We went over there. It was like 10-minute wait. It was crazy.
That is unheard of.
I know.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I was like, this is weird. I can already tell you this is going to be an interesting day. So we did that, and it was the same thing. You know, it didn't really feel like it was anything super special. I mean,
it's the same layout as Disneyland.
Exactly.
It's the same side-by-side seating, same layout, same track.
So it just was
onboard audio too and all that.
Yeah, all that fun stuff.
So, I mean, did that. Check. Make sure we did it at least once. And then I was super excited to go see what little character interaction things that they were doing. And so I saw that they had BB-8, and I was like, I have to go see BB-8.
Yeah.
And so we saw him. And it was so actually cool to see the interactions that like were able to happen between BB-8 and us. Like we would actually ask him questions, and he would be responsive and all these things. And it was great. But like it was obvious that he had to stay in one spot. So we just knelt down next to BB-8 and took a picture. So then I saw Captain Phasma and their little squad doing their thing. And then I was like, okay, kind of got my fill. And so then we moved on to the, we were going to go to the Iron Man experience, but then that one actually had a line. So we decided not to do that one yet.
Newest ride on the
Yeah,
property.
exactly.
To be expected.
And so we just got fast passes to come back a little bit later. Oh, man, what did we do after that? What was weird? Okay, so the one thing that was weird about both parks was that there was a lot more walking around and walking through, I'm going to like put it in air quotes, attractions.
So a lot more walk through.
So it was like,
it was the
Same
same
with
as over as
Paris,
Paris.
yeah.
There were like 3 or 4 walk-through attractions.
Which is really
Yeah,
rare for in the
yeah.
domestic parks. We don't see that. That's
No.
not really a thing.
I honestly can't think of one over at Disney World.
I could think of one that they did temporarily. It was the Captain Jack pirate
Yeah, the pirate
thing that they did in Hollywood Studios,
Yeah.
and it felt weird. It was like, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
it
But
happened to be like they're like, come on in, we're starting. I was like, okay, and I went in. And I was like, huh?
but what's weird is that there was nothing really going on. There was that's why I put it in air quotes, because it wasn't like an attraction per se. It was literally like there was gardens. There was different gardens that you could walk through, and they had things you could look at. So it was kind of like a.
Well, that's kind of like Animal Kingdom with like the jungle treks, like the Maharaja jungle trek and
there's
the
at least
gorilla jungle
animals.
trek. So, yeah, there's
Yeah,
animals
like,
there, but like
that's like a zoo thing, you know, or like it's more like this, the castle at Disneyland where you're like, oh, there's dioramas from.
yeah.
And that's like, so I'm trying to think of like, I'm trying to give a better description, but I think if I can find.
So you're just walking through like gardens and there's kind of like displays.
It's kind of like that. I'm trying to make this so it doesn't do it, but I'm trying to find it where I can just, because there was one that was like right next to the castle, and you were like, what is this thing? And we walked through it, and they were like, oh, you just kind of walk. I was like, interesting.
I wonder if that's a cultural thing.
that's
or just
Yeah, and so like,
pretty common in Asian culture, at least historically in Asian culture. It's pretty predominant, just well kept and well maintained gardens and enjoying
it as a garden.
Yeah, and enjoying it as a garden, enjoying it as nature.
Americans like, what are you doing in here?
Yeah, what are we gonna do? Is more thing. Yeah.
What's exploding?
Is there a cheeseburger over at the end of this thing? Is there some Coors Light?
Oh wait, here it is.
Right? I mean,
yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I mean, that's
yeah.
really,
Well,
that's really
like
cool.
that's like Alice's
exactly.
Labyrinth. That's
like-
like Alice's Labyrinth,
Okay.
and that's similar to like it. They had that over in Paris, where it's just like a maze-ish thing.
Yeah,
where
and
you
the thing
could
was-
easily see over the hedges and.
Yeah, that's why. Like the thing was, you just kind of walked through and you saw those little types of things, and that's so. The first one that I saw was actually when we went up towards. So we went up after that towards the Toy Story area, I think. Was that on that side? I'm trying to think again. Because I know, yeah, it was because we went up to Toy Story thing, and we did that little.
RC racing.
Yeah, RC Racer, that's what it was called.
Spinningless half pipe.
Yeah, and so it was like a half pipe ride, and we just did that. I was like, okay, that was
Cool.
fun.
Yeah.
Cool. And I
Neat.
mean, it was themed pretty well, but we didn't spend a lot of time there just because it wasn't a whole lot. Yeah, it's super small. It was like we saw everything when we first walked through the. We
Buzz
saw Big
Lightyear.
Woody, and then we walked right past him. We saw everything, and we saw the big half pipe, and we saw the slinky thing, and then
The parachute drop.
yeah, parachute drop, which Marley was like, "Oh, we need to go on that." I was like, "It's the jellyfish. We're not going on jellyfish."
Literally jumping jellyfish.
Yeah, I don't need to go on that. So we didn't. So I'm going to admit now we didn't ride everything, but so that because we basically did that just to see it, so we could work our way up to Mystic Manor, which was our
like
the real thing, which is why
the real reason to go.
the real reason why we were going there. And so we walked up that way, but that was the weird thing that we first got to. Like, you had to like walk through this walk-through attraction thing. Like it was basically like a museum to try to fit with the Mystic Manor stuff. So it was cool, and we got to see like different statues.
Don't they have like a lot of optical illusion stuff going on there with statues and water?
There was some
features
stuff like
and
there
things?
was things you could like look at, and it was like it would like kind of mess with your mind. I think there was only two that I really saw that I can remember at least. There was one that had like a magnifying glass, and then like when you looked through it, there was like at the statues, it would like change the appearance of like how it looked, obviously, and so like made the scene look a little different. And the other one just kind of was when you stood in one spot. I think it was like an echo thing that because we asked somebody what things were to do, and there's like another echo spot that we could use. You know, like there's ones in Tomorrowland.
over at
There was one
Disneyland,
over
yeah.
there.
Where you stand there and you can
Yeah,
hear
you
like
can hear all
everybody's
the stuff.
conversations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was, I mean, it was cool. But then it led us right to Mystic Manor, which I was super excited about. And the wait wasn't that long, actually. It was only like 40 minutes, which I was actually expected to. I thought it was a little longer because, I mean, there was two attractions that we were told were like the ones. That's why it was weird that hyperspace wasn't. It was the mine cars, and then it was
Grizzly Gulch.
Yeah, that one. And then that one there, and then Mystic Manor.
I'm a Parks fan, man.
I know.
I can name most coasters in any theme park, really. Just name it.
I forgot to even name it. So the mine car ride. That's all I know about
Grizzly Gulch.
That works.
See, he knew what it was. So we did Mystic Manor, and the theming inside the queue was fantastic. I was very impressed. Like, it had a full-on story of introducing you.
It's a similar story to the one over, or not the one, the Tower of Terror over in Tokyo Disney Sea, where there's like this wild spirit that gets set
Mischievous
loose. Yeah,
spirit,
a mischievous spirit.
Yeah.
And
So
it
it's
gets
similar in the sense that
gets
it's like-
let loose by a monkey
Yeah.
in Mystic Manor, not
Yeah.
Tower of Terror.
Yeah, so like you get introduced to both the characters and like what their whole thing was about, and like why the M is there, like the two M's, and like their whole society that they created to preserve all these different artifacts and why it's in this house. And so you get introduced to what was his name?
And can you understand all of that in English?
Yeah, was there a lot of
What do you mean?
language barrier in the park? Like,
yeah.
No, so like they had an English version and they had the Chinese version.
Were there like
too.
separate queues for English version? And
No, so it's like if you
Mandarin?
were going to, like, you would have, like, I'm sure, did they not have it in Paris where they had like the one translation, then one right underneath it.
Well, yeah. So
Exactly.
they had that. Okay.
So it's like
so
that.
with like the subtitles, they would have subtitles. They would be spoken. So in Paris, it was spoken in French, but then they would have subtitles underneath it in
exactly.
like 9 different languages.
No, so
all of
that's,
Europe has to
so
understand it.
the ride versus the queue was different. So the queue was like that, where it was like you had the 2 different things, and they were on the same type of panel.
Yeah.
Well then, but over in like on the Ratatouille attraction when Gusteau is talking to you as like the billboard, he would say something in French, and then he'd go back to his stationary pose, and then he'd say something in English, and then he'd go back to his stationary pose, and he'd say something in like German.
Yeah, exactly.
And then go back to his stationary pose. So was it like that, or was it like they'd say something and then on the screen that it's projected on, it would come up with like English subtitles?
Well, there was like in the queue there was nothing like that was like trying to describe it to you. It was more of like there was pictures and things like. It was, so that's what I mean. Like the queue was different than the ride, because the ride there's like a different. You can choose the like English version, rather than the Chinese version. So like they would put you on a certain.
Okay, because that was not in Paris at all.
Interesting.
In Paris, it was like half the ride was English, half was French.
No, yeah, there wasn't the pauses in between.
Except for Tower of Terror, that was all French.
Yeah.
Unless I missed some sign
Something like
to
that,
be
yeah.
like, hey, English over here.
English is supposed to be over here. I don't know. I think that's what I remember, because I remember understanding the full thing and the full story of everything. And I'm pretty sure when our ride was in English.
Okay, so there wasn't a language barrier, really.
No, there wasn't really a language barrier. And I felt pretty confident in those things, too. It'd be interesting to ask, I mean, since especially being someone who has been to China and has been and seeing a lot of those other things and kind of knowing, it'd be interesting to ask Marley if she felt there was a harder understanding of those things, because that was her first time there.
You understand a little bit of Mandarin.
Yeah, exactly. So even if there was, I probably would have been able to at least work it out of what's going on. Anyway, for me, I don't think there was, but maybe another question to ask Marley. See what she said. But yeah, so like when I walked through the queue, it was great. The thing I think I was most impressed about was the fact that we had no idea who these characters were. We had no idea like why we should care about them. But like in the queue, they convinced you as to what's happening, why you care, and like what's about to happen to you.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's
good
storytelling.
Exactly,
rare.
It was a fantastic
That is
story.
really rare.
Because like they have these like those like black and white photos that you can kind of get taken of you and like go and do like traveling around and stuff. So it looked like those all the time, where it had like the monkey starting out with the traveler. Like the traveler, I forgot his name, but he travels, and so he finds the monkey. The monkey latches onto him. He keeps the monkey with him wherever he goes, and then he gets into trouble. And then they find this box. They find the box that is then kind of what is the whole ride. That it basically makes everything come to life.
Yeah.
Night museum status, like sort of
That's
thing.
cool.
Yeah. And so that's what it was. It was incredible. So obviously the ride, for people who don't know, it is a trackless ride, and it has each individual one of their things doing their own thing, which made it obviously so much more interactive for the person who's riding, because you would start out, we went into the big room, and you were all together, like all 4 of the cars, because it's 4 cars at once, doing their own thing. And so you're sitting in the main room of where it all starts, of where it's like the monkey is sitting there, and then you hear the guy over the top, he's like, don't touch that thing, don't do that. And then the whole magic in the whole room just completely changes. It was crazy. Wow. I was like, I've seen great theming from rides before, but I had never seen something where they utilized the lights, they utilized the actual objects in the room. They started like flying, everything started changing, and then like your car started spinning, and then each one went into its own room. And then we were like, you're on your own adventure.
Wow.
And so like, yeah. And
That's
it goes
awesome.
from room to room and each room changes so dramatically. It's crazy. So like, the music room was awesome. That was my favorite room actually, besides like the final room. The second to final room. The music room was great just because each instrument, when it started to play, and then it all gathered together for this like a really awesome music like crescendo that like built up, and I was like, wow, this is why I love Disneyland, because it was so great. And then like you go, and so then all of you meet back up after you go into all the different rooms and things and your experience of what it is. And then there's a old ancient like Chinese mythology about the sky god who is a monkey as well.
Yeah.
And he's a bigger monkey. And so basically you go into his room where there's a statue, and like the whole room turns into a huge tornado, and then like you're just all spinning around each other around this room, and it's just crazy. I was so impressed.
No, that's all physical objects that are flying around and everything. It's not a screen ride at all, is it?
The thing is, they use projections. They use like mapping.
But you're not wearing like 3D glasses.
No, you're not wearing 3D.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. No. I don't remember 3D glasses. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think you.
No, I don't think
3D
so.
Glasses.
Because all I remember is the mapping projections, and so I was like, I don't think you would need glasses for that because it was so great. So, because in the room, when it started turning tornado, all the walls seemed like they were moving, but obviously they weren't because it was just projections, and like the objects that were in the room started to fly and things like that.
Yeah.
So it was a mixture
Wow.
of everything, and like the big statue, he started to move and do all sorts of stuff, and that kind of was the big climax of the story. And then you go back into the room, and it's funny, like he closes the box and everything's fine, but like it was just that by far was actually my favorite ride out of the entire park, and that's why I spent so long talking about it, because I was like, dang, that was awesome.
Wow. Did you get to ride Grizzly? Whatever?
Yes,
Grizzly Gulch.
Literally right after that, we went over to Grizzly Gulch, and that line was quite a bit longer. And that ride didn't have the line didn't have really good theming. Really, just was
Frontierland.
basically, yeah. And then,
But they don't have a Frontierland in that park, do they? Like that is the Frontierland. They have an Adventureland that's fairly large.
no, they do have. It's like somewhat there because they have it's kind of like their eatery. Then they have the section of the Chippendale meet and greets, and then they have I forgot, is it a store or if it's just like a add-on looking thing?
But isn't that all like within Grizzly Gulch? So that's essentially their Frontierland.
Yeah, so like it kind of mixes in with the Mystic area, and then like you go right into like this, because it's a huge desert area, because then it has like the big ride on the one side, then you have like on this side you have all of their different things. You can go buy stuff, you can go interact with characters and do that sort of stuff. But I mean, yes, the ride is mainly what it is. It's like mainly
So Grizzly Gulch is kind of the area.
The Frontierland area.
version.
Yeah, because then it goes down towards back towards the big entrance of the park, but it doesn't have anything going on.
Yeah.
It looks just like sand,
yeah.
but all the time. So it has like that esque feeling of it, but it's not like there's stuff happening.
Yeah.
But the ride itself was awesome. It was funny because I had seen videos and I had been researching stuff before, but my mom and Marley had not seen anything before, and so they had no idea what this ride even was. So when we went up the first time onto the first hill, they didn't know that
The cable snaps
yep,
and you
the
fall
cable
backwards.
snapped and you fall backwards. So they were like, their eyes just got huge and they like screamed out of their mind, and they were like, they're actually falling backwards and like it going so fast backwards, and then they were like, oh, we stop inside the thing, and they're like, oh man, we're done, and then it shoots you out forward, and they're like, what is happening? And so it was great to see like the first reactions there, and it was obviously my favorite second ride, so it makes sense of why those two rides had the longest waits, because they were definitely the best. But that's honestly
And you went back to Iron Man, I assume, then too?
Yeah, so we went back to Iron Man. I forgot about that. We went back to Iron Man, used our fast passes, and we did the Iron Man experience except for meeting Iron Man. It was too long of a wait to do all that stuff. The ride itself, to be honest, was a little bit of a letdown. I went in and was not impressed.
What's better, that or Star Tours?
Star Tours by like 20 times.
So, remind me, they just basically laid over their Star Tours, right? Or it's the same
so they
simulator?
they didn't have a Star Tours. So they used the same simulator and the same projections and everything that they use over at Star Tours, but with an Iron Man basically flying through Hong Kong.
Oh.
So the whole story behind it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're going on a tour of Hong Kong with the new Iron Man, like basically mass transit thing.
Okay.
So you jump into there, and then stuff goes wrong, like Hydra attacks, and then you fight them off with Iron Man.
Oh.
The thing is, it was because they're trying to go for like Iron Man just created. So there's like 5 of his. So he created a firefighting robot. He created a construction robot. He created. So you just like basically utility objects.
Yeah.
And then as you're flying through this thing that helps you see the whole city, and on the tour, you do get fight with Hydra, but he uses his other robots to help you fight them.
Oh, that's cool.
So like you do this whole big battle scene, but then like his random robots that.
But in terms of ride, you'd say Star Tours
was way better, just because the fact that I think it's the storyline just didn't really make sense in a way. It was like, this is very strange as to why it's all happening. The fact that obviously they didn't use his real voice, and so
they didn't use Robert.
No, and
really?
So like, yeah, so you could tell it was like this really random dude who's like just saying things to you like, you're not Iron Man, and so it kind of took you out of it. You're like, this story is weird.
That's always hard. Yeah,
the voice is not the same.
Well, it's
and
the same as like Nemo over in the submarine voyage.
Yeah,
it's not voiced by the same person at all, and so it doesn't feel right.
Yeah. And even with the new Guardians ride, Groot is not voiced by Vin Diesel. So you have this like really high-pitched, I am Groot, and you're like,
yeah,
that's not right. I don't know why you couldn't at least use the same stuff you used for Groot. It seems really weird.
Yeah,
you'd think they'd have plenty of material to work with.
I don't understand exactly. It was very weird, but you can tell it's very different. But yeah, so the voice was a big thing, as well as I don't feel like it was as exciting. It wasn't like the simulation itself.
Well, and I could see the story being, if the story didn't hold to, like, why are we in Hong Kong?
Why are we in Hong Kong? Why are we
talking to Iron Man about his construction?
Like, it's so trivial. Yeah, like there's a construction thing helping me fight Hydra right now. I'm like, where did this come from? Why is this like a thing? But I'm glad I wrote it just to see, and the Iron Man experience itself was pretty great, just to see the new technologies, because it kind of gave you the same, like, I guess, hopefulness and like thing of like the future, because you're like,
as like the Stark Expo.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't think I forgot anything.
Yeah, was there anything else that was super unique to Hong Kong?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I forgot.
It's a really small part.
It is. It's super small.
That's what. Yeah.
And their Fantasyland. What was in that? Was that just? Because the thing is, both parks kind of meshed together.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They both were kind of like, which one was in which? Because I remember, I'm trying to think of which it wasn't there. They did have a type of, because the Fantasyland I'm thinking of was the one where you had the inside and the big small world going on.
Oh.
And in the background they had from Hunchback of Notre Dame, what's that guy's, the jester's name? They had his whole like fair going on in the back. It was, I think it was
kind
in
of
Shanghai.
an odd question. Yeah, it's kind of an odd
what's
character
his name?
to do.
Oh no, it's
I don't
not
know
that.
his name.
It's not him. It's
I can't think of it.
Choplin. I think. I don't know. It's something Choplin's Fair or something like that. But whole thing was going on, but that wasn't in Hong Kong. I think that was in Shanghai because it was much bigger. So yeah, I think I covered everything. If not, I'm very sorry.
No, I was more interested in like Mystic Manor was the big one that everybody talks about,
Yeah.
and then
all the time.
And that's why I think, honestly, if I forgot anything, it's because it really wasn't that.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of it's copies. You know, a lot of it's Disneyland in Hong Kong. You know, so it's not.
Do they have the Festival of the Lion King over there still?
No.
In Adventureland?
I did not see that. Oh, what was the other thing? Because that was in Shanghai again. No, they didn't.
Okay.
Well,
so
we should just go over to
removed
Shanghai.
that.
I was
Yeah,
going to say, I apparently remember more from Shanghai anyway. So that one was very interesting because that happened kind of after we left Hong Kong, we went up to Shanghai, obviously. We were kind of done, and she was done teaching. So it was kind of towards the end of our little excursion. So when we got there, that one was crazy. So if you've never been to China, or if you've never been to the Asian countries, well, actually just China. China has it's hard to get places that have lines because they do not really follow lines very well. So it was kind of a madhouse. So imagine imagine the securities places at Disneyland, where there's just like you can go whichever one you want.
Yeah.
So they tried to funnel it off, but it was just like this huge crowd going and trying to get to this main entrance, and it was crazy. So we had to wait a little bit in that, but then luckily again I got to go over to the guest relations, and then we went through another line, which was very beneficial, and glad that I know it now, so next time I'm not freaking out. Because there was actually 2 entrance points. So the first one, you get there and they have their huge World of Disney section, their downtown Disney area, and then you go into the first part, so you have to wait no matter what, and that kind of craziness. And then you just have like this huge long stretch where they have ticket booths on right and left side, and then you have the guest relations was over on the right towards the other thing. So after we got in, after all the craziness, and so if you're gonna go there, just be prepared to be squished, be prepared to be a little impatient, and just kind of go with the flow until you're able to get in.
Well, that's like China and Europe in general. Be prepared to get squished. I'm sure it's not nearly as bad in Europe as it is over in China, but
Yeah, it's
personal space, the personal bubble.
does not exist.
And the thing is, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. So just be prepared for that. But other than that, once we got in, it was a really awesome entryway, and you obviously just felt like super mesmerized by everything that they had, the huge archway. But they obviously did not follow the how do you put that? The template of what Disneyland is going to look like.
Yeah, really,
They did not at all. They did their own thing, and they didn't even. We actually were looking for one. They didn't have an American flag anywhere in there, so they didn't have a main street. So
they
it wasn't
Mickey
American
Avenue.
flag. Exactly. So they didn't want to have anything even doing that. So I don't know why or what was going on, but they did not want to have that image in that park. So they have their own type of thing. The architecture even was different. You could tell. But we did the same thing. We didn't. We went first. We got in. We got to the little Mickey Avenue thing, which was super small. It was a very small little walkway. There's like obviously the emporiums on either like on the side, and then there's a restaurant over there that's like ratatouille bakery stuff. But anyway, we took a hard left and went over to Tomorrowland first and foremost, which was crazy because when we first got there, you would expect the Tron ride to have the largest wait, but it was the stupid jetpacks. The jetpacks had the longest wait, and we got there like when park opened, and it was already like
the jetpacks are just like the Astro Orbiter or whatever, right?
Just
They're
like
just a spinning.
It has obviously it has different like
Your feet are dangling
system,
on it.
Yeah, but it's not anything super special. You're just going around in circles, and so that's why we're like, I'm not waiting in line 40 minutes for that.
Yeah.
Little did we know that line was technically the short line of whatever that ride was going to be, because I can tell you how crazy it was later. Anyway, so first we go over to Tron, and my goodness, I was already blown away with what was going on. I couldn't believe even walking into that place, and because Tron was the Tomorrowland. Tron was it. Like that was basically what was there. You even have like the eatery that was up there, but it still had like lights that looked like Tron up there too. And they had that stage that they bring Big Hero 6 out to do little show and meet and greet. But other than that, it's Tron. It's literally Tron.
It's Tron.
So like you walk in there and like you just see this huge thing, and it was just amazing. And so I was so giddy and happy and rushing everywhere. And so when you go up, you to get past the first line, you go see the big sign, and then you get into the actual building, and you have to put your stuff in lockers. And so they have lockers there for you,
which is really rare for a Disney ride.
But because it's
other than water, like
exactly,
like
Cali River.
But because the actual ride system, there's no place to put anything.
Yeah,
if there's like
sense,
even a backpack, it's a danger because the thing goes out over everybody. Like if you lose anything, you're just kind of done. So it's good that they have that there, especially. So then you put your stuff in lockers, then you actually go into the building, and that was crazy. It had the music from it, like Daft Punk music was blaring in the entire thing.
Cort's in heaven.
I know,
I
exactly.
want it.
And so like in each room, like you went through all the different rooms, and there was one room where you actually launch off point, so like you can see the light cycles about to race, but they did an overlay kind of thing where it looks like they're in the video game to you while you're walking through the line. And so there's just music blaring, lights all over, it's completely dark in there. And then you get to like the main hallway, kind of like they do it's like the hallway that's in Space Mountain almost, where it's like really narrow.
Yeah.
And they kind of narrow you out, and that's where they do their screens. They tell you all about the ride. And that one was switched back and forth. So they did one in English and they did one in Chinese. And then you walk into the big room, and I was like, this is crazy. This room is huge. It's just all black. And there's just like lights all around, and there's this huge screen that's out in front of you, and there's two on either side of you. So like you go down the middle, and then you can split off, and you go down on either side. So when you're walking straight, you just see this huge screen, and then you're in this gigantic, basically, video game world of like Tron.
Wow.
So like you felt immediately when you walked in, you were like, I'm actually in Tron right now, and I can totally feel that. They did such an amazing job, and I was very shocked. And then the ride itself was crazy.
Yeah.
Like you get on, and it's just like they obviously have for your phone and stuff. They actually do have another section that you put all that in. So they have it where you're sitting down, obviously, where you're laying down, face forward almost, and your feet are in the back like you're riding a motorcycle. And then right on top of where like maybe you're riding a motorcycle, your windshield would be, or like the guard would be. Then that's where you put your stuff, so it doesn't fall out. Anyway, you get on and like you push it down and like you get in and you're just like strapped and you're like, I am gonna go for a race right now. This is crazy how intense you feel just getting on this thing. When you start moving, it's such a crazy feeling. And then like so then you're in the room where they launch you off, so you see people waiting in line. Like there's like you still feel like you're in a video game, and then you just shoot off and you go so fast. It feels like, and you go up first on the outside, do the full like loop thing, and at night it was 1,000 times better because you just saw lights. It was fantastic. And then you go inside and it just kind of basically feels like Space Mountain after that. Just in Tron. It was like a Space Mountain with a Tron overlay after you get inside, which is great. I mean, I'm not complaining, but that's kind of what it is.
Why would you complain about that?
Yeah, exactly. So then after that one, Marley really wanted to go see, there was the ride at the castle where like Tangled has a little scene where they have like the boats and whatnot. Sadly, it was closed and under renovation. But luckily what made her feel better was that they only had like a very small space for Tangled, so she wasn't super upset.
Yeah.
But anyway, we walked there and then we saw the castle, which was, my goodness, it was just huge. I couldn't believe.
Even on the map here, Cort's got pulled up.
It's
just
big
like,
one.
It's huge because like, and so we went up around the opposite side, around like next to where this theater was. So we went up in the back side and we came up that way. And so because the front was just crazy, it had that. Obviously, the front has the huge gardens and everything laid out in front of it. And so we obviously wanted to go to Tron first. So I was like, why not do that? So we went up from the back, but even that, I was still blown away by the just massive size of what this was. And so we get to the back of it, and that's actually where they do princess meet and greets right underneath the first section of it. They do like Cinderella will meet there, Flynn and Rapunzel will come there when they are there, which I was weirded out about because I asked where Flynn was, and he's only apparently there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So yeah, I don't know.
That's random.
Flynn's got a part-time gig in Shanghai.
Apparently, I don't know what was going on or why Flynn was so sporadic, but sadly we were there on a Friday, so I didn't get to see Flynn Rider. Yeah. Anyway, so then you go up and there's this huge spiral staircase. It goes all the way up through the whole thing, and there's on the inside there's this big area, open area, that has a bunch of murals of different stories on the outside. There was one of Frozen, there was one of Tangled, and so there's just really awesome mosaics on the inside, and it was just hugely beautiful. Like there's the gigantic chandelier that's hanging right there too.
Wow. So it feels like a real cat. I mean,
was.
Unlike a lot of the other castles where you can barely go into them at all or whatever.
This was like, it had, and because then even when you go up there, it was room after room, and it was actual rooms, and they were telling a story, but they did not inform us that those things we didn't see an English version, so the actual storylines in there were all Chinese.
Well, that's kind of because this is Storybook Castle.
Yeah.
So it's like the Disneyland Paris castle kind of amped up because Disneyland Paris has all of that, but it's only with the story of Sleeping Beauty.
Oh yeah, they have like they had almost every single story. So each room has its own story going on, so it would tell the full thing. But we were like, we can't understand this, so let's. We already know the stories too. Like, let's just keep going. So the rooms were all really hugely decorated, and it was really elaborate and amazing. And I think, I mean, I guess if we could have asked, maybe if there's one that was like English type, they may have said yes, but we didn't know. Yeah. And then you get out to the courtyard area where basically it's the courtyard way up at the top. And so it's open air, and you can like see there's like fountain in there. There's like this grass and like shrubbery everywhere. And so then there is this little tiny window that someone ripped off so basically they didn't want you looking out. Basically you couldn't see that anywhere outside the park because I think they were just trying to make sure you didn't see China instead of Disneyland that far. And so there is a little window though that had that glossy stuff over it. But someone kind of ripped it off so you can like see, like put your eye there and you can just see forever because it's so huge.
Yeah.
You can see this castle basically from when you're driving from or to the main airport of Shanghai. You can still see it over in the distance. It's just this huge castle.
That's crazy.
And you can kind of see Tron because, I mean, it's also this huge big dome. So it's pretty hard to miss too. But the castle the spires were what you could see for miles. Anyway, so after you did that, then you kind of walked all the way back down. It was fun. So I was glad that I saw it and I was able to be with that. What did we do after? That's when we saw the Alice in Wonderland thing. And what else did we do? Wait, you have the map though. I can see. Oh, that's right. We went from that. We continued on our circle because I'm the one who planned out the day. Because I was like, I'm not gonna let this go to waste. So we continued on our circle over to Pirates area, and first we stopped at this store actually to get those ears that are in the thing because it was basically the cast member store or like the thing. So they had the opening ceremony ears, even though we were like a year late because they were just trying to get rid of them. So we stopped in there and got all of them and shopped some more, and then continued on. And again, when we got to the Pirates Cove area, it was just amazing. It was again so well themed, but it was amazing because you could also see in the distance the huge waterfall, just the huge, ridiculous waterfall that I was
from Adventure Isle.
Yeah, from Adventure Isle that it's all like you can't really mess with that sight line just because it's huge. And it blends really well though.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to see the Matterhorn everywhere,
no matter what.
Yeah, and
it blends really well though because it's like kind of like the pirates in their cove, and then they have like this huge waterfall over the other thing. So it kind of worked out. So we went on that ride, and that was Pirates. We went on Pirates, the only ride that's really there. And it was incredible. The thing was, it had kind of the feel of the original, but it mostly was like just a completely different.
Well, it's based off of the films.
Was that exactly, a good thing or a bad thing?
But I mean, it felt like the original in the way that it was like, it had the same sort of like boat feel, and you're like going through these things. I don't know. I'd say it was just different because when you go into a room and you see like the animatronics and you have that kind of nostalgic feel, like this is the original, and then you go into a room where this just huge dome of like a screen, and then you have like the boats on the inside and boats on the other side, and you're just completely overwhelmed at some points because you're just like, I feel like I can see for miles, and there's boats having fights out there. Well, there's two boats right next to me, and it was just like quick too. Like it wasn't a super slow one. It was like pretty quick turnaround.
Okay.
And then like it kind of turned into a weird like almost full-on ride when it like sends you backwards and you're like I don't know. It was really amazing. The technology was incredible, but I don't know. It just was different. When I went on the Pirates, I was like, I don't know what to expect. If it like should be expecting more of like that feel.
That's true. It's such an iconic ride that we all have an expectation of what it should be, and so it's like it's either got to be so different that it's like, no, this isn't Pirates. This is something Captain
else.
Jack,
exactly,
or whatever.
It's Captain Jack, and I felt like that was. If I went in with that mindset more, I would be fine. So it was great though. And then after that, we kind of were getting, to be honest, we were kind of getting close to being done with a lot of the major attractions that we wanted to ride. We skipped Soarin' because we kind of already knew what that was.
It's the same as
Disneyland
or Disney World.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what was even so then the only really attraction that we also kind of skipped that was also over in the Adventure Isle was like this obstacle course.
Camp Discovery.
Yeah. And it looked really cool, but it was more fun to be in line and make fun of everybody who was struggling because you basically you're attached to this thing that's like has a rope to the top of these like
it's like a safety harness thing.
Yes, so it's like these you have to slide your little ball thing basically in it. So it's like the balls are encased and there's like a little opening for the rope to slide.
Okay.
So like you have to slide it yourself when you're moving forward. And so it's funny to watch people go through all these obstacle courses and trying to like maneuver the obstacle course as well as move their little ball with them and keep going. So we were like, the line's really long. We can kind of see where it all goes, and I don't really need to go on that either. Because by this time, after we did all the other stuff, every line was about 180 and more plus minutes for
crazy.
things. Yeah, so we had to really choose which one you were going to commit to. And this brings me to, I think, kind of our last thing we did, or the new rides that we did, because we kind of went back and we did more stuff. But we we waited, me and Marley. My mom went back to the hotel. She was like, I'm tired. We've been doing all these things all day. So Marley and I, we went and we waited in line for Snow White's Mine Car ride.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I could not believe we did that. We waited in line for like almost 3 hours in this line, and I could not have been more disappointed in the ride that I waited for. And I think if it was a shorter line, I would have loved it more. But the fact that I waited 3 hours in a very not themed queue, and then got on a ride that was super short and had one like dark ride area where it was actually them singing the thing, and then it was just kind of like a quick little and you're done. I was like, I didn't really need that. I didn't really need to wait that long. So if you're gonna do it, I honestly would be like,
is it the same as
yeah, it's an exact clone of
I can
Worlds.
see that. I can see.
Yeah.
and so that's
I
it's
only
just
do
weird.
it because I get a fast pass for it when we go to World, because it's like it's one of the shorter roller coasters.
Mhm.
And it's not really the most thrilling roller coaster.
No.
And then, like you said, it's not really a dark ride either, but it's a good combination of
Yes,
all those
it
in a
is.
weird way. But it's not.
It wouldn't be
I
worth-
can't imagine waiting 3 hours.
No,
either, though,
literally almost 3 hours, and not even that of us trying to have people not cut us, have people like we were fighting the entire 3 hours to keep our spots the entire time.
Really?
Like I'm telling you, it's not like they.
It's like that one time we were waiting. We've told this story a gajillion times, but the one time we were waiting to see Mickey at Disneyland. Some family was trying to push past us, and we're like, "What is your deal?"
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy. It happened every time. So like you could not leave. You had to make a wall basically between yourself. And so what they've tried to do at all the rides and all the lines is they make them very, very skinny. So like each thing and each switchback is very skinny, so that when you make the turn, there's no way that someone can try to get past you.
trying to cut the corner.
Exactly. Also what that
Should start doing that strategy at the
exactly
American part.
right. You
I
could
feel
do
like
it.
you get knocked out. Like
Yes.
people would just be like, "What are you doing,
Get
dude?"
out of here. Yeah,
Like,
it was
I felt that way
bad.
with that family that was trying to butt the three, because it was
Yeah.
Tyler, you, and I, and we're not small people.
We
And
are-
it was like,
All of us are
what
over
is your
6 foot.
deal, dude? Like,
I
back up.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. It's such a cultural thing that even when Marley and I were getting mad, it's not like you could do anything. Like no one around you would be, "Oh yeah, they're cutting." They'd be like,
What's your problem?
What's wrong
Why
with
you
you?
getting
Like,
mad?
"Yeah,
Yeah.
you're the one who let them in front of you," and you're
Yeah.
like, so you just kind of have to go with it. So it's like not only was it 3 hours of just standing there, it was 3 hours of like
fighting your-
making a wall, being like round the corner, and so you're like constantly on. So it was a lot. It was a lot. And so basically the rest of that park was many of those gardens,
kind of-
many of those things, right? Because that was like you did meet and greets a lot of the time too. So I feel like we did quite a few things that we like the main things.
Did you go on Roaring Rapids?
No,
Or
we did
was
not
it
go.
closed?
It was closed. We didn't go on that one either because we were like we would have gone on that one for sure.
Yeah.
There was another. We were over by because we caught actually both the parades. Funnily enough, when we were trying to go over to different things. Because now that I'm thinking of it, Choplin's fair might have been in Hong Kong. Because I'm like, definitely is not in. Because when we were walking up next to a park, and that's where we met the end of the parade. And funnily enough, Anna started flirting with me. You know, it was she saw me when we were at the first parade, and she was winking at me all the time, and then she was like waving, and we locked eyes the entire time. And then like when we caught them, like when we caught the parade, when we were trying to go to a different ride, we were up towards the top where they leave, and she did the same thing because it was the same of Anna, obviously being her, and she looked down at me. She started doing the same thing, and then she blew me a kiss, and I was like, "Me?" And she's like, "Yes, you." And I was like, "What is happening?" And then, so like you know how like they have that line, that white line that is when they pass that's when they stop performing and whatnot.
Yeah.
So like they pass the white line, and she sees them still looking at her because I'm like, this is intense. This is like I'm not dropping this eye contact. And so like I was still watching her and doing that. So she turns around and she was just like still waving at me, then blowing me kisses still, and I was like, on a missed opportunity should have thrown out like a little way to contact you or something. If you're on this, if you hear this, Anna.
If you're the Anna from Shanghai.
Anna from Shanghai in the parade. If you hear this, we had a really deep connection for that little time that we had. So
email us. We'll get you his contact information.
Exactly. We'll meet up. Don't worry about it.
Unmistakablymagic@gmail.com.
Okay, so Shanghai versus Hong Kong. Favorite.
Okay, it's
even a comparison.
I know. It's very, very hard to compare just because of the fact, like, in sheer size and just amazement of, like...
Well, and the new and unique attractions,
too.
It's so new and it's so different. Like, there are very few, like, clone attractions in
Well, just even
Shanghai.
the layout, like, looking at the map here.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
Instead of a hub, there's, like, a Gardens of Imagination with stuff in the middle, right in front of the castle.
Yeah, that was another funny story, too, actually, because we were going to... Marley and I, after we did our crazy experience with the mine cars, we went and we were taking our signature picture in front of the castle because, like, why not? And we started taking our photos, and there were just people in that. We formed a crowd taking photos. It was actually quite hilarious.
Oh, wow.
They were telling us to do different poses and things like that.
People were taking pictures of you guys?
Oh yeah, it was.
Oh.
It was
that is
so fun. So we asked the PhotoPass person who was there to take pictures of us, using our cameras, and then while we were doing that, they started forming a little crowd, and so then we had like at least 50 people like up around us as if we were a show.
Wow.
And like they had us doing different poses and things, and we were like,
you are a fairly tall guy, so I can see.
It was a interesting cultural experience again to see the way that works. So if you're over there and you start getting stares, don't think it's weird. They're just interesting.
You're different.
You're just different. Different
awesome.
for a change.
Well, I would love to go over both of these or either of these.
Yeah, that was a quick, brief overview too. That was like me just going through these things as fast as I could.
No, it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the food also was actually very good too. I was pretty impressed.
What was the food? Was there like kind of a mix of cuisine?
It was a lot of mixture of things. Even the American stuff though was definitely had a Asian or Chinese twist. I shouldn't say Asian. Chinese twist on it. There's just
kind of how they interpret American food.
Like there's just the Chinese versions of those things.
That makes sense.
But they had like different things that definitely would never be in a other Disney park, like noodles and like these things that were in like a Magic Kingdom setting. It just seems a little odd because that's where they were. They were like the noodles.
They're not going to have
ramen.
corn dog. Yeah, I mean they might, but they also are good.
Yeah, so they just had different foods, but it was all really good,
That's
and
awesome.
I was super impressed with all of it. Yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Can't wait to get out there.
Yeah. Next time.
Yeah.
Or go to Tokyo.
Or
that one for sure. That one's happening next. Well, actually, hopefully.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Don't we have an aunt or something that lives out there?
I think we do.
Well, thank you for listening to the Unmistakably Magic Podcast. Thank you yet again for coming on, and
thanks for listening to me. Just
share. Yeah, I wanted to know.
Go through those things.
I've been super curious since Shanghai opened, just to get any kind of like feedback on it.
Definitely,
so it was interesting.
Definitely worth it. Definitely say that.
Well, check out our social media. We're at Unmistakably Mag on Twitter, Unmistakably Magic on Instagram, Facebook.com/Unmistakably Magic.
If you like what we're doing on this show and you want to support us, if you want to send us to Shanghai,
buy a whole lot of shirts.
Buy a ton of shirts over at unmistakablymagic.spreadshirt.com. You need to buy a lot more than that. I could send one of us over.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I'll send you for remote reporting. Email us, unmistakablymagic@gmail.com. If you're
Anna
from Shanghai,
I need you to hook it up here, okay?
Holler at your boy. We'll get you in touch. Unmistakablymagic@gmail.com. But if you're just a listener and you have questions or comments,
I mean, if you can talk to me, you can you can still email if you want to talk to me.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
true. Forward it on.
Yeah. The next hookup.
There you go.
Go over to our YouTube. Just search Unmistakably Magic on YouTube. Subscribe over there. Give us a like, and you can catch all of our old shows as well as our after show.
The exclusive after show only on YouTube.
Only on YouTube. And then over on iTunes, you can catch our most recent episodes. Leave us a review over there. We'd appreciate it. Big thank you to our friend Dylan over at Blast Off Branding for making our awesome logo. And don't forget to check out our friends at the Unmistakably Star Wars Podcast. Those guys are always talking Star Wars.
As we always talk. parks.
Yep. But they have like quite the plethora of shows.
They definitely
go
do.
check those guys
We're
out.
building ours up kind of there. We don't have as many spin-off shows as they do.
I don't know how many more spin-offs
they can
they handle.
Any
shout-outs or announcements?
If you have any announcements or any shout-outs, don't hesitate to email us over at unmistakablymagic@gmail.com. Any anniversaries coming up, if you're planning a trip and,
I guess I can say happy birthday to my dad because this will probably be about the same time.
Yeah, you could say that.
We'll be in Disney World for his birthday.
There you go. Happy birthday, RJ's father.
Yeah. We used to always make him do it at the French restaurant, and they'd always sing it to him in French, and he would just sit there and look all grumpy. Which not because it was in French, it's just because people were singing it to him. But
yeah.
That's how he is. He's not the most
a fan of that.
Yeah, he's not the most friendly dude. Well,
that just about does it.
All right, have a magical week.
See you real soon.